So this panel is all about good news from Germany, some hope, some Aufbruchsstimmung, some Ärmeln hochkrempeln. That is the spirit we want to infuse today. We are sick of what we call the German grumpiness, yeah? Making everything look maybe worse than it is, and this is also what the panel is about. So we start a little bit with a positive note on how you guys think we can overcome German grumpiness. How can we have a more positive mindset towards innovation, technology, and especially AI? Carsten, what's your idea?
So I think the most important thing is not to overcome grumpiness, but to overcome German angst, because we're much too afraid of everything. And so in the past, Germany has done a lot of things overcoming angst. So like in the 30 Years' War, there were muskets, maybe you remember those old guns, and actually every 200th of the muskets exploded during a fight. So one of 200 people died because the musket exploded, the own weapon exploded.
Let's get to the place where we stop being angsty.
Yes, no, the point is, if you wouldn't have had the muskets, you would have lost the war, and everybody dies. In the 30 Years' War, it was just like they killed everybody, yes? So, not like today. So sometimes things are so important, and it's so important to just be on the verge of technology, on the new technology. Sometimes it's so important that you have to overcome even a risk which is not a small risk, even which could risk lives in sometimes. China has had 200 hospitals who have to use AI for almost everything. They just announced one hospital where there are 42 AI doctors. Of course, the AIs will do some mistakes. But in 2 years, 5 years, whatever, maybe in 1 year even, the AI will make a lot of better decisions than the doctors, probably. Or at least support the doctors in a way that currently it cannot.
So be less scared of taking a risk.
Absolutely.
I think
that's
we
the
should
point.
turn this angst into FOMO, into fear of missing
yes,
out.
That's a good
that
angst.
Would be a bad channeling of that
exactly.
angst. Yeah, perfect, thank you.
That's one
actually
of the
really good news, right? That means we, just by our nature and basically by the value legacy of being engineers and looking into details and looking into manufacturing issues, we might be onto something. Maybe we can also look at if you agree with that or if you see there's other things that are already there. Do you want to say something to that, Carsten?
So I would say, yes, it's a strength that we have this engineering path. Our past, and also the path maybe for some people in the future. But the thing is we have to combine this, and we have to not focus too much on the engineering past, because the Six Sigma idea, so prove everything until it's really, really safe, until it's really, really secure, until everything really, really works, is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because it takes too much time. And we have to combine the two. We have to somehow get into this new world where you just build a proof of concept which works in 90% of the time and 10% it fails dramatically, but you can prove that you can do something, and then you get the investors. And the investors also have to understand that some technologies are so transformative for the industry that you have to invest at a stage where they don't make any revenues. And so it's my first time I'm currently going into an investor round. So in Casablanca, I invested 3.5 million myself. Now, about half of the investors are saying, yes, so how much is your revenue? And it's not important because we built some fundamental new technology, which can be put into a lot of products, but we've built some fundamental new technology. And the investors have to understand that, the banks have to understand that, and also the employees have to understand it, so that they don't want to fix everything until it's sealed and everything is completely ready.
But then that's easy to say for you, Carsten,
Yes.
because you have a track record as well, right? You have done this before,
Yes.
right? So that you can have some trust in advance, but a lot of people will probably say that. So the question is also, what other track records do we see in Germany? Markus, like maybe you have some ideas. What are other track records where we can build this trust? Because what I'm hearing is there's a lack of trust from investors, from banks, maybe even from your own people, that it's moving fast enough, good enough, secure enough.
No, that's the key thing, is rather like it's not moving fast enough. That's not the trust they're missing. It's not finished enough.
It's not perfect enough.
Yeah, it's not perfect enough, and that's not the right
Attitude.
so I mean, we became strong in Germany because we built everything so perfect in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and because but these were different times. Things were not so fast. Nowadays, when you see the news in AI, everything changes every few weeks, and you have to be fast to win, and everything else will not work. If you are slow, you will not win. You have to combine the two strengths, because in the end, you have to have a product that works 99.9 something % of the time. But at the time when you build it, you have to go ahead even when you're only 90% correct and you fail miserably in 10% of the cases.
We are from exploration into implementation already,
Into
which is
scaling, I would say,
that is
scaling
very-
some of the
Carsten
cases.
already
Yeah.
signaled that he really wants to jump in, so 1 second.
Yes. So we have just so we have three things how we need to build AI in Germany. One is building AI technology, as we do, as some people do within your organization, and so on. The second one is applying AI in the IT department, so building it into processes, into production, so integrating it. And the third one is using AI in practice, sometimes also tools which are openly available. And these are three things. And for the third one, I have a suggestion which I also give to many companies, which is when you want to get it throughout the organization, everybody using AI in some way. My suggestion is for every long meeting, so when you have a meeting which is at least 1 hour long, reserve 10 minutes where every participant of the meeting has to make some suggestions how he would solve it when he needs to use AI to solve it. So everybody has to make a suggestion. That's important, because else you have always the same two people who do the suggestions and nobody else thinks about AI. But if everybody knows the next meeting I'm attending, I have to say something how to solve this with AI, then you get the spirit into the organization, because then they have to do this just not to look bad.
They can ask AI
yeah,
how to,
yeah,
what they could say, right? But at least they come prepared.
That's right. So, but that's also a good first use. Yeah. So that's a suggestion for the third part, for the application in the organizations. And of course, there are lots of other methodologies, and I think you're supporting those with your company.
What I hear a lot is partnerships, collaborations, cross-industry, people working together to bring together things. And I think that's also very good news, because like you said, we had more of a culture, don't compete, we are all in our little corner doing our own thing. We heard before, we are still having a culture of everybody invents the same thing just so they own it. So this is really good news to see that. Carsten, what's your...
So I can say something which is not products or companies. I'm in several juries. Among them is Jugend gründet, so that's the kind of pupils who have a business idea while they're at school. There are about 5,000 people attending every year. So I'm in the final jury for the last 10, and I can say they are very fantastic people. I started myself at 16 with the first company and also made disruptive innovations. And this is still possible. It's not that Gen Z is just, or Gen Alpha is just not able to do this. There are still these people who want to change the world, who invent great things, and who also have a lot of energy to do that. And not like, okay, yes, but I need to do it in a maximum of 4 work days per week or so. There are still people who are working at night every day, every weekend to accomplish their idea. And it's both in Jugend gründet, also in KI-Bundeswettbewerb. I'm also in that jury. And they're so fantastic people. Like somebody, for example, who was 16 when he started. He invented for microscopy, to find cancer cells in blood samples. And he invented something that bet everything in the world so far, because he made some changes in the picture, in the object detection algorithms, which had not been invented before, and he changed something, and it's better than everything else in the world. So he beats the state of the art. When he was 17, he already achieved that.
I think that's a really important point, because even in this bubble and also in the KMU bubble, a lot of people say, okay, basically we're on our own. You know, we know what we should do, but it's only us. How can we do it?
Yeah.
But hearing that there is a growing generation that can boost this and carry this, with everybody who's in this room as well, is very good news. So maybe we can add the question of what role do you think academia plays at the moment, and is it played well in Germany, like universities and maybe even other types of education? It could be even better. So we want to focus on Aufbruchsstimmung, like how can we be positive about what we have here? Do we have examples of what could we tweak a little bit?
Yes, both that and I'm saying something to academia. I think for academia we have to distinguish between two things. One is getting enough people to do the work that has to be done with some brain and some knowledge in the companies. And that's very important. So the majority of the academia, of the master students and so on, are going to do this. But then we have the people who bring the world forward, the people who invent something new. And for them, university is not a place where they learn the things they have to learn at university. For them, the key thing is peer group. You have to have other people with whom you can discuss your ideas. And that could be professors, but can also be some other talented, ultra-talented people. And peer group is the key thing in university. And I think that there should be more effort in university to bring the peer groups together, instead of just trying to optimize them to learn the best things. So when you do law, you learn all day and all night. When you do medicine, you learn all day, all night. You just have to sit down with your books instead of exchange with the other people, because the curriculum just wants you to know all this. But what you should actually do, if you're really talented, is exchange with the other people.
That's why all of you are involved in so many communities, right? You are doing this outside of academia, and I've talked to a lot of people here who have started communities for female people, for every kind of specialty and industry that you can think of. But this is also, I think, they exist, they are good, and you can become a member of it, and most of the time you don't even have to pay for it. So just find your peers, and you can find them. It's also a good
Right,
aspect.
but university could also do this actively in some way, and I think it's not done enough. That's my impression.
Now, what can we tweak to be even better?
Okay, so I have, again, a slightly different opinion. So I think what you both said is probably very important, because most people don't have goals, and if you don't have goals, you cannot incentivize on KPIs and so on. And that is when you have targeted innovation, when you do something where you want to achieve a goal. Now, which innovation would you have set so that Einstein invents relativity theory? What kind of innovation what kind of incentive do you set for that? I can think up nothing for that. What you need to have is freedom. You need to have people who really want. So, of course, 90% of success or so is not the innovation. It's how to build a company out of this, how to get this. So you need all these best practices and KPIs for most of the work you do. But when you need this one special ingredient of innovation, what you mostly need is take away the barriers, take away the yes buts, take away all those things, and let people just do. And this is not what we currently do in academia or at school and so on. So I stopped doing homework when I was in 8th grade, and I told all teachers. And fortunately, I had a good headmaster who allowed that, so that the teachers could not really push me out of school or so. And I learned so many other things, because I took my time for doing everything. And I think you need to have these, to go away from these barriers you have for those people or for those ideas that need real innovation.
We are back to trust.
Yes.
Trust your people,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, right.
trust the
Yeah.
process, you know, that it's going to go. How do we make people do good and talk about it? Yeah, create good use cases and talk about it. Is it just a PR problem? Or is there something else? I mean, it could be just do PR and marketing. But how do we get people to, are they so deep into the work that they don't have time to talk about it? Or how could we get them to teach others, to inspire others? What do you think? Yeah, Carsten, we are on the last minute. So
I just want to say, I think the most important thing we can do as Germany is to also take away the jealousy. because when you're in some way successful...
Back to the comparison.
Yeah, so when you're in some way successful in Germany, that means that normally you get negative press because you're...
too successful, better than others.
Yeah, so right. So I mean, it's good as long as you're just an inventor at university, but most of the people at university are afraid to become successful because then they will be negative in society, because then suddenly they're rich. And rich is not good by our societal thing. Currently, we've seen the Linke rising a lot in the left election, in the last election, and that's because they actually put things like ist ein Einkauf zu teuer, macht ein Konzern Kasse, and everything that is associated with good money is negatively associated, and that's not good. So, I mean, I never did my things for money. I just did them because I wanted to invent something. But then in the end, when you suddenly make money with it, it should not be negative.
In Cologne, we say, man muss auch gönnen können.
Yeah, very good.
That goes in that direction. I think it's a good way to end this, because I think we saw there's actually a lot of good news happening, and we can be positive, and especially the people in this room who are changing the future should not be influenced by this negative talk and that toxicity that's sometimes involved. So thank you for being here. We see you around.